Hello everybody and welcome to a very special edition of Goodison Park, my home. As you can see, we've got Peter Reid here with me in the studio. Somebody who was described no less as Everton's most important signing since the war by a certain Howard Kendall. So that's quite the billing. Absolutely delighted to have you here. Peter, how are you?
Yeah, fine. Watching Everton week in, week out for 2 years has been a little bit... well, it's not good for the heart, if I could say that. It's been tough, but, you know, we're still in the Premiership. We're going into new ground, so I think things are going on. But, personally, I feel good, I train. Because I like a bevy, so I train most of the time. I think it's a Catholic thing. You know, you've got to do a bit of work to earn it.
Yeah. So, yeah, and we were going to say, we're just talking before we came on air there, actually. We'll discuss this, the fact that obviously Peter's very much a Blue now, but it's not always been the case. But your actual first game at Goodison Park came very early for you.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to get in the Huyton boys' side. Obviously, everyone knows where Huyton is. I think it's known as Knowsley now. And we got to finally the English Schools Trophy. Alan Bleasdale was our coach.
Right, okay.
Who I think, Echo readers and everyone in Liverpool know Alan, and still a big friend of mine. And we got to the final. Yeah, we played the semi-final at our first ground and won that one. Okay. And then at 14 years of age, I played in the final. We beat Stoke boys. I think we beat them 4-1 away from home. So it was no pressure. You know, it was one of them, go and enjoy it. Your family were there. I think it was about 10,000 on. So it's brilliant that your mum and dad are there. And I think a lad called Pat Phillips got the winner. And the first game at Goodison Park, we got results. So the grand old lady was shining on us.
What was that like to be playing in a ground like that at that age?
It was honest to God. Hey, listen, as well documented, I've had a decent career. But when you're a schoolboy, you don't know you're going to do that. You're full of dreams and ambition and hope. But like at 14, going into school and your mates going, you play at Goodison. I thought I'd done it all. In fact, that would have done me. I could have finished then and been happy because it's a dream, you know. And obviously, after that, I went to Bolton Wanderers as an apprentice and then progressed. I think the last time I played there was for Bolton Wanderers reserves. Okay. Which in the old days, Central League games, when the first team were away, you used to play at Goodison, and then I think I played in the semi-final. I know I did. Semi-final of a League Cup there as well, which was amazing atmosphere. I think we done well there, but we got knocked out. I think might have been Duncan McKenzie got the win in the second leg. So I'd played there, obviously, numerous times before I made my debut when I signed for Everton.
Yeah, and obviously true blue now. But Peter, like many families on Merseyside, came from a divided family in that respect. And you were a Red growing up, but your mum was always an Evertonian.
My mum was a blue. Yeah, she's not well at the minute, so just So, but she was always blue. The two granddads were blue, but like Catholic families, they're always quite large in them days. Yeah. And half the lads were Reds, half my uncles Reds, and half were Blues. And that's the way it was. And I was brought up watching Liverpool on the Cop. Had a derby game in the boys' pen at Goodison. Okay. I think it was when Sandy Brown got the diving net. Believe it or not. Yeah. Well, you're never going to forget that, are you? And then, and by the way, there's many on the other side of the park who've been Evertonians and kids who are my mates now. Yeah. So I'm going to blow him up now. Rushy, he was a massive player. But that's the way it is when you play. Hey, I tell a story about the game where, funny enough, it was at Anfield, and I've laid one on Barnsley, and the crowd are giving me jip, plenty, which you'd have it. And I look in the crowd, just in front of the dugouts, and I go, Uncle Arthur, It was my Uncle Howard. By the way, he's giving it to me, good stuff. But that's the way it should be. You know, when you're at Derby games, and some of the stories about Derby games, the late great Ronnie Moran, it was another one. But you know, and they for me, they were the biggest games.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to play in the 80s and the 70s. But in the 80s, when possibly two of the best teams in Europe. Well, we were.
Yeah. And obviously, as you say, you're at Bolton Wanderers to start with there. And I mean, you could have come to Everton earlier. Gordon Lee wanted you, and it was for a lot more money than they ended up paying for you.
As a kid, I got offered terms at Everton and Liverpool, but I thought I'd watched. What was the game? There was a game on Granada. Elton Wellesby used to do it on a Sunday, and I watched Bolton, and there was a lot of kids in the side, so I thought, I got more chance of getting in the side then.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And funny enough, when I went to Bolton, the likes of Neil Watmore, Big Sam Allardyce were apprentice. But I could have signed for Liverpool and Everton as a kid, but decided to get away and try and do it through Bolton Wanderers. Yeah, Gordon Lee, the moves fell down. I'd had a problem with my knee. Funny enough, I'd done my knee in a game against Everton. I think it was New Year's Day, 79.
Was that the abandoned one?
Yeah.
So,
and I was out a year.
Yeah.
So just after that, Everton come in, and like you say, it didn't work out. And then a couple of years later, I got the call off Howard Kendall.
Yeah, I mean, and what was that like? Was it an easy decision for you to make at that time?
I'd just been over to speak to Jack Charlton at Sheffield Wednesday, funny enough, and just got back in the house. This obviously, I'm getting on a bit before the days of mobile phones, and phone went in. Howard Kendall, do you fancy signing for Everton? I said I'm in the car, and then went down to Belfield, agreed terms. And then I failed a medical. My knee, which, had a dodgy knee. And I would just went, well, what would you be doing Saturday? And I said, well, playing for Bolton or Sheffield Wednesday. He said, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And that was it. So he had faith in me, which was, which I'd played against Howard when he was at Blackburn and Stoke.
Okay.
So I think he knew what type of character was
in the midfield with you.
From being, funny enough, I played against Colin Harvey when he was at Sheffield Wednesday.
Okay.
And I played against Borley when he was at Southampton. And you still, that era, because we played head tennis with Colin and the gaffer.
Yeah.
And the touch on them was
even
unbelievable.
At that age,
and I'm playing against Borley when he's at Southampton, and I'm a young lad. Couldn't get near them. One touch, two touch.
Yeah,
great players.
Yeah,
great players.
Yeah. So to be with them, I mean, a lot of people have spoken about Howard and what he was like as a man manager. Are you able to sort of describe it as someone who went into management yourself? What was he like? What made him so special as a manager?
Well, I think if you look at his success at Blackburn, he built on a certain style of players there. That Derek Fazakli, I knew a few of them, but when Howard was under an extreme lot of pressure when I arrived, and so it wasn't plain sailing. But that just shows you his character and his toughness, allied to his man management, because he had to go through some bollocks, excuse my French, for a spell.
Yeah,
I remember the Coventry game. I think it was about 12,000 on the cushions coming out.
Yeah,
and he's seen it through.
Yeah.
He's seen it through, and he had a good way with him, with players. I mean, you fell out with the manager on the odd occasion. Of course you do, because that's the nature of the game and nature of the business. But terrific man manager.
Yeah,
and you wanted to play for him.
Yeah,
I think that's a big thing. And football now, I know it's changed in certain things, the pitches, the rules, but the basics of the game, I think, are man management when you're a coach or a manager, and recruitment, and they never change. No. And he got the Magnificent Seven in at the start, which didn't work out. But after that, when you when you look at some of the acquisitions, you go, wow, you know, it's well documented about Southall. I mean, the best goalie in the world he bought, you know, and Inchie, lot of money, Adrian Heath, boom, great player. The likes of Harper, Sheedy, what a great bit of business Sheedy was, you know. And then we win a cup final in '84, and he signs Paul Brace, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to get in the side here.
You really that,
Kevin Richardson was there, you know, some good players there, and I'm thinking, but even back then, get you on your toes, you know. And Howard was great at that. I'm thinking, Christ, and to be fair, me and him it's it off, but I like Kevin Richardson, who was brilliant.
Yeah,
him and Alan Harper played in a lot of big games. Brilliant player, and then he ends up going to Arsenal and winning the championship there.
Yeah,
tells you everything.
Yeah, and like I said, obviously the great days, and we'll discuss all of that as we go on. But it wasn't plain sailing for yourself in those early days either. It was tough.
Well, it's shock. I got an injury when I think I did all right. We beat Forest, I think.
Yeah,
my debut. But yeah, I had a struggle, injuries, and then I got in for 4 games. We did quite well, I think, won a couple, but I wasn't really first in Howard's plans at the time. And the game that changed it was Coventry League Cup.
Yeah,
I think we just got done in the derby 3-0.
Okay.
And we played the League Cup time. We were getting beat 1-0. And I was sub, and he dragged me on. And I did half an hour, and we ended up winning. I think Sharpie got one on the back stick. We ended up winning 2-1. And I was always in the side after that.
Yeah.
I was always in the side. So when I was fit and available. So that was the biggest turning point for me.
Yeah.
You know, from then on, wasn't all plain sailing, because... But we had to go through some hurt. But you know, when you're at Belfield and you're playing, and there's no pressure, but you see the quality there. You see the quality of the Sharps, young lad. Young. These are all young players. Yeah. The Sheedies, the Heaths, the Gary Stevens, the Trevor Stevens. You see all this quality. The Radcliffe was only a young lad. The man, all these young... And sort of... That season, they grew up overnight.
Right.
They from in football terms, from boys to men.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing. And that old sporting adage, you know, confidence is a massive thing. Yeah. Confidence, that gives you the belief. And then everything blossoms. Because you have got ability. You can see the ability on the training ground. I mean, Howard's training was fantastic. It was all with the ball. Everton was with the ball, you know, which was brilliant, because back in the old days, you used to run up hills and all that, but Everton was with the ball. So you could see these players, you could see the ability they had. But we grew up in terms of, you know, that's my phone now. We grew up in terms of on the football pitch, if you know what I mean. It's all right doing all the coaching, but that's it, you know, when you play the game. And that's what it's all about. Let me just get rid of this. No, so that's what it's all about. You know, on the park and training, you can go through things, you can do this, you do that. But that's where you make your bread and butter, and that's where I made my debut at Bolton with Tony Dunn, left back, right? Manchester United European Cup winner, and Peter Thompson, who'd come from Liverpool, left wing. I tell you what, the things I learnt off them players was unbelievable. It was fantastic. And that's how you do it. And the lads then, they grew up on the football pitch.
Yeah. And it was the 2 runs to Wembley, that season, the 2 cup runs. I mean, a lot of people talk about, was it that game at Stoke City? And
that's the one everyone goes about, and she's equaliser. And rightly so. Yeah. Rightly so, because that was a tough place to go, by the way. And they had some good players. Yeah. But I just think after that, it was after that Coventry game, and I would come in the dressing room. This was how open the old slats at the Victoria Ground cellar. And you could hear the Evertonians. It was, honest to God, Chris, it was frightening. The noise. And he didn't have a team talk. It just went, go and win it for them. Yeah. And I think Alan Irvine scored and Andy Gray, 2-0. And that gives us the catalyst. We're going, boom. But there was still hiccups on the roads. Yeah. Gillingham. I remember Steve Bruce heading one against the bar at Goodison, and then we went down there and it was 3-3, and then we went down again and beat them. So, but that's where you get character. Yeah. And that's what good teams, I mean, there were certain games we didn't play well. I remember coming back from Munich playing Luton. Yeah. And by the way, I was a Ming intellect at the time. We went one down. They were not bad. Never made a great save at 1-0 for them. But we found a way. Yeah. And the good sides found a way. And that was allied to the ability. That's what, that mentality. And I think our great man manager, Mick Huyton, I think that mentality come from Colin. Yeah. Colin was, I love Colin Harvey, but I loved his attitude. He hated getting beat. Yeah. And that was one of my traits. Yeah. I hated getting beat. And he drilled that. That was sort of his little personality going into it. It was a big melting pot, but that was certainly one of the attributes as well.
Yeah, well, we'll come on to the FA Cup final and Watford, but before that, of course, a great occasion for the City, the first ever Wembley Cup final. Everton and Liverpool, obviously, fantastic. Lost the replay, but obviously going to Wembley and matching them because they were the best team in Europe at the time.
Well, Jockey's handballed it, hasn't he? He took the lace out of it, by the way. I know he hasn't seen it. I'll never know. And then we've gone to Main Road. Yeah. And Graham Souness is another big pal of mine. And when we have a red wine, I always go, you've missed control at the edge of the box. And he's miscontrolled one on the edge of the box. And then hit it early, and he's done Nev, but his touch was crap. If you ever watch it, and I battered him, and we have a laugh about it but at the time. But that, we knew we could match him. Yeah. You know what I mean? We knew we could match him, which was a big thing. And, it gave us that confidence for the big games, and the semi-finals are a great example of that because they were favourites to Southampton. Yeah, at Highbury. They were big favourites. Frank Worthington, Mick Mills, Stevie Williams, Schultz was in that, but quality all over. And we dug in, and Inchie getting a one at extra time. Yeah. That was one of the halcyon games in my Everton career. It gets overlooked with Bayern Munich and this and that, but that was a great day. That was unbelievable, because to get to Wembley, and I don't mean this to sound corny in any way, for the supporters, because that Wembley way that day, I've never seen anything like it. Just grown men, kids, grown men, girls. It was just, it was one of them. Got to win this here. We had to win that game because it was there was so much emotion. The coach coming down Wembley, where if you ever get a chance to see it on the telly, it is unbelievable. And that again is the support of Highbury, the support of Stoke. People underestimate what Evertonians do for the side. I mean, over the last 2 years, that's proved that on the wrong end, keeping us up, and it has done. But when you've got to win the trophy, there's no better crowd in the world. Yeah. And going back to that Southampton semi-final at Highbury that you said, there was an issue, there was a bit of a kit issue, wasn't there? Was it you Kevin Racken, it made him spill his coffee there. He said, with the shorts, wasn't it? Oh, I was just going to swear there. So, I knew Frank Worthington from Bolton. So Frank's coming off and getting it. And one thing Frank isn't, he's not going to do you in behind. So I've gone to Rattus, right, half-time. I said, he's done it, and I've gone to him. Is there any chance of you getting tight on him? I said, he's not going to do you in there. I said, you're miles off it. So he's gone, you've got me shorts on. I've gone, well, can you imagine what I said? I said, you flipping what? I said, you got me short. I said, because back in the day, you had to,
they were honest small, to God. As well.
And that's as well. So I've got your, I said, do you want to swap? He went, yeah. And we swapped shorts half time in an FA Cup semi-final at Highbury, And Ratters went out and he was brilliant.
Yeah.
If
you as well. You put
people
the
go
cross
like
as
that.
well.
People go like that, and you go.
Yeah.
But that's you surprised me there.
Yeah.
As I was drinking my coffee, having that knowledge.
Yeah. So you obviously mentioned that the final already and the Wembley way and the Evertonians there.
Do you know going to the semi?
Yeah.
We stayed at Bell House on the Beaconsfield, Gerrard's Cross, and coming in. So we come in. So we've come in where all the Southampton coaches are coming in from the west, and they're all in the coaches, and they've got the suits on and smart and blazers. And as we're getting closer to Wembley, we're hitting the Everton traffic now. And there's furniture vans and lads in the back and sweets and drinking and dancing. And it was chaos, but it was brilliant. You know, I had vans, they'd done this, they'd done that. And the two contrasts, I'm not having a go at Southampton, but the two contrasts about the supporters, and it was another one. We've got a winner for these. Yeah. We've got a winner for these people because it was just ridiculous. Yeah. It was brilliant.
Yeah, makes you wonder what it
and that's what it does.
Yeah.
That's what it does for you.
I know when we had Derek Mountfield and he was talking about just going up the tunnel, and he says that the noise just it's like somebody opens a door or something. Well, first of all, he said the big door shut at Wembley and it goes quiet, but when you're walking out up onto that pitch, I mean, what was it actually like playing in an FA Cup final? Do you remember much about the game against Watford?
Yeah, they weren't bad.
Yeah.
Obviously, Barnsley, who could get... John Bailey played well in that game. John Bailey was different class, but they weren't bad. But once we grew into it, I think it was only going to be one winner, but it was, I think Mo Johnson played.
For them, yeah.
Yeah, he did. But they had an injury on the left back against Trevor Stephen. Gibbs. Gibbs couldn't handle Trevor. Trevor had a real good game on that day. But with the firepower we had, we talked. And I look back at that, because I remember Sharpie getting the first. But Sharpie didn't play in the semi, or wasn't in the because I think Terry Curran played.
Okay.
And he was moaning, and I said something like, "Oh, shut up, you! You must probably get in the final, get the winner on the bus afterwards." And he got the first one. Yeah. But it was the crowd. It was the crowd again. And Watford had a good side, a great club, but the Everton crowd were just ridiculous that day. Yeah. I mean, they keep. Merseyside derbies and cup finals that I played in at the time, he said there was 100,000 on the old Wembley. Tell you what, they were bunking in left, right and centre. You could chock they were, and it was standing, obviously. It was incredible, the atmosphere in them. And like that, like he says, when you... And Wembley now is aesthetically looks good, but I don't think it's got anything on the Twin Towers and that walk up the slant and then going over the grass and have that long walk to the the road. But that was one of the best walks in football. And it's even better when you win.
Yeah, and obviously the start of a golden era for the club. Elton John obviously was there, wasn't he? The tears, of course, and you get to meet Elton again the following year because you get named the PFA Football of the Year in what is Everton's most successful season.
That was, winning an English Schools Championship medal at 14, but when your peers vote for you, that is special. Yeah. That is special, and that was a great evening. Hey, listen. Obviously, I've still got it in the house. It's a big thing, but it's when you look at that, you think, "Wow, that was great moments." I think. Hey, listen, I had a great season. I think a lot of the lads realised the injuries I'd been through, but I think Brian Robson come second. Okay. Mark Lawrence and Brian Robson. Okay. So there was three not bad players there. You got to say, but to get voted that by your peers is something else. That was one of the best things that. And Elton John was brilliant. He was terrific, by the way. Backstage, and I chatted to him a few times over the years, and he always remembers. He always remembers.
That's nice. Yeah. But when obviously you'd won the FA Cup, but it finished about 7th, was it that season? Did you feel you were ready to take that next step? Because it went on, it was the most successful season in the club's history, wasn't it?
Well, we won the Charity Shield.
Yeah.
So Brace was brilliant in the game. And then we got done by Tottenham, 4-1 at Goodison. To be fair, the hitters on the counter.
Yeah.
Today's parlance is a low block.
Okay.
You know, we still don't know what it means. They defended deep.
Yeah.
And they caught us Hoddle, knocking balls, anything Clive, Allen, Chido. They were like, and they done us 4-1. 4-1 at Goodison, first game of the season. Then goes to the West Brom.
Yeah.
And they turn us over 2-1. And both games, we played well. You know when you played well, you're coming off. And then the third game, it's a Friday night, live on the box. And they weren't like today's footy, 28 games on. We wore a grey kit, Stamford Bridge, and I would come in. And you know what he's like. He's gone, right, all this football, bump, 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 bump. Clean sheet tonight. I don't want us conceding a goal. That'll do me. End of story. Get out. Clean sheet. I think Sheeds was injured. Kevin Richo scores 1-0. And then we just went on. Yeah. We just went on a run. And I think Man United were up there. But, it was the game at Anfield, wasn't it?
A Sharpie.
It was, we done brilliant, but it was an acid test. They weren't playing great, but it was an acid test. And the biggest thing about that is the crowd again. We've gone there and we could see, you know, when you warm up, you see there's that many blue scarves in pockets, even the cop in pockets. And then when he's hit the one in, you should have seen it. It just went blue everywhere.
Yeah.
Honest to God, it was unbelievable. And then we've come off them, and you know when you go somewhere and you nick a result, you know when you nick it, but we deserved it.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing. We deserved it. And we knew, and they knew.
Yeah.
They knew. And then the other one, a week later, Man United at the top. And that was the best team performance I've ever been involved in.
Yeah.
We were unbelievable. We were brilliant. And they, Robbo, Remy Moses, you know them all.
Yeah.
Stable. They had a good side. And we were awesome that day.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. And I did invited
Joe
Mercer, and he'd come in, he'd sit down, and hey, I know the history of Joe Mercer, Ellesmere Port lads, play for Everton, Arsenal, Man City. So you're sitting down, and this is somebody who knows the game, you know, brilliant. And he's just a gentleman, and we're all like that, taking us everywhere. I've just seen Brazil playing blue today and walked out, and we've all gone,
yeah,
that's not bad. And what an accolade of somebody who knew the game and such a big standing in the game. And then that was another one. The Wednesday night we'd been drawn away in the League Cup.
Yeah.
Old Trafford. Brazil's hit one, deflected, passed Nev 1-0 down. And by the way, the Bayern. Old Trafford back in the day, the Bayern. We just done them 5. Wednesday night, Old Trafford. Robbo, I tell you what, it was the most brutal game I've ever played in. Right. Do you remember the old spot the ball?
Yeah.
I've got a picture at home of like me, Robson, and I think Whiteside, and our feet are up here off the ground. And I'll tell you what, if they took a shot, which I've got on the wall, no one in the world would have won spot the ball. All the feet, the ball's on the deck. It's on the it's on the ground.
That's the old never mind the ball, get on with the game.
Well, we done them 2-2. Yeah. I think we got a penalty and then we got a deflection, but we done them again like so. Within 10 days, you'd gone to Anfield. Yeah. You'd beaten, you know, one of the best teams in Europe, and you beat the top of the league, Manchester United, twice in 4 days. And I think it was a warning sign, but it gave us great. Well, we had it, but it just nailed everything down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
we sort of all went, yeah, chance here.
Yeah, and in terms of as a team, as a unit, is it just the way that you were in the banter of feeding off each other? I hear it a lot when I speak to that team, and it was brutal, but you just want to say that wins. Yeah,
great. Well, you talking off camera before walking down, you said we're meeting up. We always meet up, and we have a great time.
Yeah.
And taking the Mickey out of each other is brilliant. Yeah. I mean, she's after a few bevies is brutal. I mean, me and Brace sit opposite, and you can see him. So he'll start. He'll go, "Hey, me two odd carriers are here." That's what he calls me and Brace, odd carriers. You two just give it to me and Trev. We'll absolutely brilliant. But that's what. But you know, there was a fluid. I remember a goal. Getting beat 2-1, Goodison Park. When Sheedy got the free kick for the first, we went 2-1 down. So in the last minute, I've made a run, knocked it in the box, right, inside right position. Pat Van Der now, the left back, slung it across the goal, boom. Derek Mountfield, the centre half, scored. And they go on about movements in teams. Yeah. Sometimes we all had that. And people forget about things. People forget about, they go on about number 10. Adrian Heath was a number 10. You know, when he got injured, we went a bit with Andy in it. But the likes of Kenny was a number 10. He used to drop off. It's nothing new. Jimmy Greaves back in the 60s used to do it. Right. Alex Young, Roy Vernon. And it drives me mad, the parlance. But, and, you know, it's intelligent players getting space. You know, if you've got a defender here, tight on you, you're going to go, if you've got any, I'm dropping in here. Yeah. And then they've got a problem with did they go in or don't. So, you know, that's what we had as a team. You know, Sheedy got that many goals coming in. I mean, Sheedy used to come in off that left side. Boom. How many goals? The goal scoring record. And Trev, to be fair. Yeah. And by the way, Gary Stevens wasn't bad.
Yeah.
You know, getting on the end. So we had a great movement about us when we were chasing games as well. You know, we knew how to shore up games. If we were in front, like, we went daft. We went bang. Yeah. You know, managed the game. And that's what we did back in the day. And, you know, it's sort of a magic parlance these days.
Yeah. And we talked about, obviously, the way you can play there, but you could mix it as well. And that takes me to, I mean, it's widely regarded as Goodison Park's greatest night by Bayern Munich. I mean, brutal on and off the pitch, and again, incredible noise.
Well, you've got to go back to the first, like, Sharpie, Andy injured, Sheedy injured, and that's when Howard, unbelievable again. Alan Harper right side, Kevin Richardson left side, me and Brace, Sharpie up front, Trevor in the number 10 in the hole. So these master tacticians of D-Days, it was happening. Howard Kendall was doing it, you know, it was being done, and we got a 0-0, and they were a good side. Yeah. They had plenty of top players, by the way, you know, the Mateus, the Honuses, the Argentile, Dremler, Jean-Marie Pfaff, good side, and the 0-0 was a great result, but we knew we had it all on. You know, it wasn't done, and the atmosphere at the Grand Old Lady Goodison Park that night was, I mean, I've seen some atmospheres, played some atmospheres, been to games. Obviously, the relegation is not good, but the atmospheres have been brilliant. But that night was euphoric because it was a semi-final in the European trophy that the club hadn't been to, and it was just electric. Yeah. From like 6 o'clock, you know, there wasn't as much hospitality at Goodison back in the day, so they were all there in the specs. The St. Luke's was chocker. I mean, the roof of that church was unbelievable. It was just incredible. It was like something that you could. I was going to say you could feel it, you could eat it. Yeah. Honest to God, it was like when Derek, you mentioned Derek, when you come up the steps, and that was some noise that night. It was game on air, and it was a tough game. And like I said, it was energetic. It was physical. Who was that? Oh, Kogler. They had a little number winger. He was quick, and I remember going to Rat and say, "You got to sort him out. He's causing us." Oh Christ! Neck eye hit him. Honestly, God, it was. He'd be in jail now. It was. I've forgotten how. Even I winced. I went, Christ.
Yeah.
But he took a wind out of his sails. But the crowd again there was. Howard's quote at half time was brilliant. Get it in the park and they'll suck it in.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And be fair, as good as they were technically, it was attacking. What would I call it? Aggressive football.
Yeah.
From both sides, but we had a little bit more on the night.
Yeah, because that's what they say, the famous quote, isn't it? Mr. Kendall,
Yeah,
this isn't football. Yeah. But they I keep doing this as Peter goes for a sip. They gave as good as they got, though, didn't they, to be fair?
Oh, he done me. Well, I think his name was Dremler. He done me just before half time. He had 6 stitches in me shin here at half time. And I'm just listening to what Howard says, and it was hard work, but you don't feel pain.
Yeah.
When you're playing the game like that, you don't feel pain. The only pain I had was when I come off, and it was, honest to God, it was brilliant. The atmosphere, it was brilliant. The lads are like that, straight in the Conti, down the Continental, and I'm thinking, get in there. So the gaffer pulls me with John Clinkard. You're going to Lord's, the hospital. Me leg, me shin. I says, I'm not. He says, you are. He got a police escort to put me in the ambulance with me kit on.
Okay.
Because I wasn't having it. I says, I'm out with the lads. And I was in a hospital bed while they were getting, well, whatever.
Yeah.
The biggest regret in my football career.
Yeah.
I missed that night out.
Wow.
And then I didn't hear the last of it when I got back in 2 days later. They battered me.
Making out it was even.
It was great.
Crazy.
It was great.
Yeah. And going back to, obviously, you ended up winning the league by a record number of points that season. And it was the QPR game obviously when you clinched it. And I remember actually seeing there's some lovely footage. We were speaking about earlier, obviously, a divided family, but I remember that and seeing your mum celebrating that day, and then pictures afterwards. I mean, it must be lovely memories.
To be fair, it's a bit emotional because she's not great. She's struggling, my mum, at the moment, so I'm a bit emotional. But to see the pictures of her on that day was gear. Honest to God, it was gear. Obviously, I've got it, and it's I was made up for it.
Yeah.
And the other one, I've got a picture in my house of her and my aunt fella when we won the FA Cup, and her face. Yeah. Oh, it was brilliant. But that footage is beautiful. And I didn't know that. I knew I'd done an interview, but I didn't know that they'd followed them into the ground. So they must have, obviously, they got permission at the football club. Yeah. So when I seen it, I thought, wow, that was brilliant.
Yeah, she's gone.
It was brilliant. It was really good. Yeah. Really good.
But everyone was there. Over 50,000 in Goodison that day.
Yeah, it was great. The only thing is, you've got to win it. Yeah. But the only thing is, we knew we'd won it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We knew we'd won it, but the Tottenham game was the one.
Yeah.
Away.
Oh, never the same.
Yeah. The Tottenham game, because they were vying with us, and we went there. And like I said before, good teams find a way. Great teams find a way. And our goalie made a world-class save. But leading up to that, he made one that used to be on Match of the Sheffield Wednesday.
Oh, Emery Verardi, was it?
They're the things that win you games. Having a great keeper, it's a big melting pot of team. But the memories, it's funny when you're talking to you, Chris, now the memories keep flooding back of our games, and it's absolute. Do you know, I mean, I drive past Goodison, a few, and you still get that, even though the feeling, and even when I go now, I love it. Because it takes me back to my day as well. Sometimes when I'm watching, and them things, them memories, no one could take away. No. We're going to a new stadium, and it's magnificent. But them memories of the the grand old ladies at Goodison Park.
Yeah.
The magnificent. You cannot put them into words. It's like it's part of you.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, as an Everton player, it's part of you. You know, and certainly, I mean, I know you've had Joe in. You know, as a player and a manager, how he must feel. And the likes of Howard Kendall, you know, he went back there 3 times. I was with Man City and says, come back. And sometimes I think it's always difficult to go back. Yeah. But Howard, Everton was too much of a pull for him. He just loved it. And that's what it does here. I mean, I spoke about Alan Ball. When I got on really well with Bally, and he used to go to me, I hate you. I said, what are you on about now? He said, he was a mad Bolton Wanderers fan. And because I play for Bolton, he used to go, you play for my team. And he used to rhyme off the 1958 Bolton Wanderers winning side, not Loft House. But after a few glasses, when we got to talk about Everton, wow, you could just, the love burnt out of him about Everton Football Club. And all of that 70s side, you know, you get that. And talking to Alex Young back in the day, you know, Brian LeBone, people like this. I mean, I played on Goodison Park, or Dixie Dean, you know, all these people, all these iconic names, the Eusebios, the Pelés, they've played there, you know, they've been on that grass. Yeah. You know, it's such a historical, brilliant historical memories. It's magnificent.
Yeah,
it is.
You've mentioned him already, and he's up there with those names that you've mentioned. Neville Southall.
Oh, yeah,
you said obviously that
he'd fill the goal now.
Yeah,
don't tell him I said that.
Yeah, the banter was brutal, like you say. But Neville's been stories about when he was like in training and he wouldn't even use his hands and things like that. I mean, how good was he for the younger generation?
We used to have sessions where he said, "I'm not using my hands," and he used to dive and save it with his body. Yeah. He was brilliant. He was a winner. A winner as well, you know, brave. And in fact, when he done his ankle playing in Ireland, and he was brilliant after that, but it took a little bit away from that injury. Because before then, he's the best I've seen, the best I've played with. Yeah. After that, he was absolutely magnificent, the best in the world. After he'd done his ankle, he was just absolutely magnificent.
Okay.
And the best in the world, but not as good as them.
Yeah, yeah.
But he was excuse me. We used to have a high line up the park, you know, because we had pace at the back. And I told about some of the saves Nev made, and they were great. But you know them ones, one-on-ones, they were unbelievable. Rushy, I remember loads of times, but I can remember loads of occasions when they've done us at the back and he's made saves, one-on-ones. He was the best.
Yeah, yeah. And going on from, obviously you mentioned we've had the Bayern Munich semi-final, but obviously then it was the final, Rapid Vienna in Rotterdam. Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, you felt you'd done the hard work beating Bayern, but another magnificent night for the club.
Yeah, I think it's 4 of us went over to Old Trafford because Rapid Vienna and Celtic had to play a playoff game because of some incident with the crowd.
Yeah, the crowd, yeah.
I wanted Celtic to win because it's a team that, you know, and it's a support. I'm thinking Celtic are going to win this. And I think they got done 3-1. And to be fair, Rapid were the better side. So it's injured disappointment, but it was me, Andy, Big Andy Gray, Sharpie and Inchy
went to watch
the game. Yeah, and we all come away and I went, they can't beat us. And they all went, yeah, we think the same, but we're not going to say it. He said, as soon as I've said it, they've all gone, yeah, it's right, they can't beat us. And we honestly, I mean, they had Krankel and Panenka, you know, they had them in the sides who were past the best, but good players, and they were good on the night at Old Trafford, and we'd watch videos, but we all knew we had too much for them. And on the night in Rotterdam, we were very, very good. Very good. I mean, in a different way than the Bayern Munich game in the semi. Controlled, controlled football, possession. I mean, there's one where Trevor Steven, it's one, and he must have had about 30, 40 passes before. Well, before they got a touch, it was the keeper flicking over the bar. We were very, very good that night.
Yeah,
brilliant.
And then obviously on to Manchester United for the final. It's a pivotal moment. It's the challenge on yourself from Moran gets sent off the professional foul, but then obviously Norman Whiteside does you.
It was a game too far.
Yeah.
We still had chances. I remember Sharpie and Andy Gray after it was odd day as well. I always remember odd day. Obviously, we got back into Liverpool on the Thursday morning at the John Lennon Airport early in the morning, rested, and then played head tennis at Belfry on the Friday, travelled down. So without making excuses, because they had a man sent off. We had Andy Gray. I keep on. Every time I see Andy, and he hates it, when I've had a bevy, when I'm talking about sheets, I say, what about you? You've missed two. And Derek missed a couple.
Right.
I hit the post first half. It just skimmed, hit the post. And I don't think I'm being disrespectful to Manchester United. I thought we were a better team on the day. And we'd beat them in the league, and I thought we were the better team of the day, but sometimes great teams find a way to win, like I said before. That day we didn't, and we couldn't. And it still kills me, that one.
Yeah.
It still kills me, but that's footy.
Yeah. And then the following season, again, it's going against Liverpool. It could have been an Everton double, but it ends up being a Liverpool double. And for you, that's particularly hard. I think it was after the Wembley, the FA Cup final, and then I don't know whose idea it was to have a joint parade afterwards, and you didn't want to get involved in all that.
There's loads of things happening. We got done at Oxford. Guy Lineker had 3 1-on-1s. I was injured. I missed the game, and I think Liverpool won at Leicester, and we'd done them at Anfield.
Yeah.
Here's me again, thought with a better side, even in the cup final.
Yeah.
And how have we done then? Anyhow, but it's one of them things. We got beat, and I was hurting, and we were going, and I pulled a gaffer, and I just went, I'm not going on that bus. And he went, you've got to, you don't be. I said, listen, I'm not being a baby. I said, I've shook hands and I've done this and I've done that, but I can't do it. So I got my mate to pick me up, and I went for the bevy, and the gaffer was great, to be fair. He'd done me 2 weeks' wages, which was obviously, and that pre-season, and he had a half a go at me, which, hey, he's right, because you shouldn't do that. If I was manager, you shouldn't do it, but I just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle it. Anyhow, he pulled me in his office, so he sat me down. He said, you're out of order. I said, Gaffer, it's gone now. Leave. He said, right. There you go. Your money's going to be paid back in your bank. Your 2 weeks' wages.
Okay.
He said, but don't tell anyone. And I went, wow. And that is the man.
Yeah.
And that was what the club was about. And I never told anyone. I'm all right telling it now, but that was him as a manager. You know what I mean? And there was, after what game was it? After the Man United game, was a little, when we got beat, you're going for the treble, there was a little bit of a scuffle in the dressing room, without going into details. He'd opened the champagne, Howard, and he sorted the, scuffle out, whatever. And so we're all listening, all going, oh, Christ. And he goes, and he just got his glass of champagne, and he went, that gentleman is why you're champions. That was brilliant. Honest to God. When you think, how was he come up with that at that moment?
Yeah.
And you think, top man.
Yeah. A combination of that disappointment to Liverpool, and then a real sort of determined effort that the following season, because whereas in 85 you'd won it by a record number of points, so many injuries, including yourself, that following season.
Yeah, me, Brace didn't play. Paul Power. I mean, when it went on about recruitment, I mean, everyone, when he bought Paul Power, they're going, what? Yeah. What? He was magnificent. Kevin Langley come in, people like Harpo, people come in and did great jobs. It was unbelievable, unbelievable. Obviously, in 86, Gary Lineker had scored 40 goals. That's another. in my opinion, if never had been fit, we'd have won that. But I'm off again, aren't I? Making excuses. But honestly, when Lineker went, and then tell you what, we all got together, and a team spirit and the quality the lads showed. You know, the Neil Pointons. There was some really great Neil. What's his name? Neil Adams.
Neil Adams, yeah.
Honestly, some of the lads who come in and done jobs with us, Kevin Langley, Warren Aspinall, it was brilliant. It was a great. It was fantastic, to be fair. You know, in terms the problems we had at the football club, I might have been one of the best achievements. That, you know, looking back, and the amount of players that had to play, you know, in games was amazing. The amount of players who come in and did great jobs was absolutely fantastic, and that's all credit to the players, the manager, and the staff. You know, and I think that was Howard's goodbye one. I think that's when he decided to move. So, you know, it was a euphoric time, but then a tough time. But to bounce back and win that championship was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and I know this is Goodison Park, my home, but of course for yourself, you're coming off that World Cup, a few of your teammates as well. Mexico, all the altitude there and the heat, and can keep up with Diego Maradona as well.
Well, I had a problem with it. Not that he was a good player. He was, you know, when you talk about top players, icons, I mean, I think it's always difficult to say who's the best. You know, the Messi, the Ronaldos. By the way, the Brazilian Ronaldo was a great player. Yeah. Di Stefano, Cruyff. You could go on, couldn't you? George Best. Yeah. Hey, you could go on, but Diego Maradona's in that ilk, and even though the first one's at handball, you know, things are meant to be in football. And my roommate Steve Hodge, he got the shirts, 7.4 million. And just a fortunate I couldn't catch him. Nah, it was just one of them days. It's an iconic game, though, isn't it? I mean, you mentioned like I won PFA Player of the Year, I've won Manager of the Year, I've won League Champions, Europeans, voted 4th best player in the world in '85. And all anyone asks me about is Diego Maradona. It's great. When I've had a bevy, like I need that, like all in the head, don't I? But it's funny.
Yeah, but it's, to bounce back from that, obviously, and to win that other title. And I mean, like you said, you worked hard and you played hard, and that was certainly the case when you clinched that second title at Norwich, and the very slow drive back to Merseyside.
Christ Almighty, that was a bender.
Yeah,
it must have. Well, we must have stopped at about 3 off licence on the way back. It was brilliant. You know, and when you think of the memories, the gaffer, Terry Darricott, God rest his soul. He was the DJ on the mic singing all the songs. It was when you talk. I mean, football memories. Goodison Park are brilliant, but it all evolves into memories, and that coach journey. Yeah. On the way back was so, because everyone got up and sung, and there was some brilliant. It was just a brilliant trip, and that's what it meant to the players. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's great, and I love memories and I love history, and it's great talking about it. But you know what I want? Yeah. I want a generation like my grandson lives in. Freddie lives in Worsley. You know, Man U, Man City. He's got his blue shirt on. My nephews, I've got loads of nephews. We haven't seen us win anything. No. I want us to win something. Yeah. I love me memories. I love this, but I want Everton to be there competing to win something, and that would be that a bit. Well, that's what I want for Evertonians.
Yeah. Oh, obviously we'll come on and ask your thoughts about the stadium in a second. But I just want to say, you've mentioned Howard goes in, and you become player coach, and obviously it was Colin who had a big part in bringing you to the club in the first place. But it's Queen's Park Rangers, isn't it? And your time at Everton comes to a close.
We had a chat, and I think Stewie McCall, Snods was about, Brace was there. You know, there was one or two, and he just said, I can't guarantee. And I said to Colin, listen, I want to play. So Trevor Francis, ex-teammate, pulled me. He said, QPR, have a word with him. He said he was getting one or two players. So I thought, yeah, I'll have a go down London, which is, I like London, but only for a couple of days.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's. I stayed in the Royal Lancaster for 6 months because trying to find a house and whatever. And then 9 months, I was 3 months in this house. I hadn't brought me missus down or my daughter. And I get a phone call off Howard. Yeah. Oh, crap. I'm the only man who's lost property in Gerrard's Cross in the history of mankind. But it was great to be reunited. But I enjoyed my time there. But when Howard Kendall comes calling, you know, and he to be fair, I was his player and admired him immensely. But when I worked with him, you know, in that capacity and became a friend, which we did, that was brilliant. That was great. I've got some great memories of me and the gaffer. Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. Managerial spells at Manchester City and Sunderland. Was there any chance that have you coming back to Everton? Was it ever close?
No, I'd have loved it. There was I did well at City, to be fair, and you know, fifth and ninth after I had left, and then Sunderland, they had 7 great years, you know, up and down, and there was I got a phone call off a press lad once, but it never materialised. I can't remember. Can't remember what happens. It's but I had a phone call, but no, there was not. I would have loved the opportunity to have managed at Everton and Goodison Park, but it wasn't to be. It wasn't to be. But I go there quite often, and I still love it. I still love it, and the support's still great. Yeah, I mean, and there's a painting as you come in around the back, and it's got all Everton greats. I'm on a mural there, and it's done on a wall.
Oh yeah, but
I'm trying to think how to knock the wall down and get the mural out.
That'll be your bit, yeah.
Oh, I'll be robbing Everton when Goodison. But don't tell anyone.
No, I mean we've had a laugh here, but never seriously. Do you think you're going to be emotional when the day comes? What I mean, you're a regular visitor now.
I get emotional every game, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And the last game is going to be. I don't know. I've no idea how I react, and believe it or not, when I go to a game, I don't have a bevy before a game. Okay. The only time I've had a bevy this season is when Andy Burnham invited me into the Gladys Street, and he ended up having a bevy with him in Newtley Willows and in just outside Goodison. So that's the only. But on that day, I want to sort of suck everything in, the atmosphere. Yeah. I just want to. But I think I might have a drink before that game, just to settle me down, because I think it will be very, very emotional.
Yeah.
I think even talking about it, you go, wow, the last time.
Yeah.
You know, the last time Everton playing at Goodison Park. Well, I mean, I've gone on about the history, but that'll all come out, won't it?
Yeah.
All that, and I don't know how many ex-players are being invited. I'm sure the club will get, well, all the living ones they can there. I know it sounds a bit dramatic, that, but I'm convinced that'll be amazing. And I've got to say that the thing is, and I'm going to just go on to Moisey, I was half panicking. Can you imagine that game being Southampton, having to win it to stay up? So over the last couple of months, I've managed to settle down a bit, like, and I'm on cruise control, because I was thinking, Christ, this is going to be brutal. This is going to be ridiculous. If we've got to go, don't even. But now, I'm just emotional about taking everything in, from being 14 years of age to getting on a bit.
Yeah.
And you know, everything that's gone on, you know, to watching in the boys' pen, you know, when I'd lost my head, you know, when I'd supposed to do the shower, to like Goodison, and that'll be, I tell you what, that'll be the 60s, and then you're coming in 2025. Wow.
Yeah.
It's sensational.
And you've talked about, you have to, your grandson there, the next
Freddie.
generation.
Oh, mad blue.
Yeah. It's for them, for most of Goodison Park's history, it's been the top club ground in the country. That's not been the case for a long time now. As much as we love it, it's not the case. But the new stadium, you think of where Everton could have ended up, but they're moving to that new stadium on the Mersey waterfront, and hopefully have all the best elements of Goodison in a modern setting and allow Everton to compete again.
The architects done great. Have you seen the arch elites all around sorted? I think it's been done really clever and tastefully, with the grand old lady getting her little say. I think they've done that brilliant.
Yeah.
I think the ground is sensitive. I was like you, Chris. I was there when it was 10,000.
Yeah.
And when the siren come on and that Z cars come on, could you imagine what it's going to be like when there's 50 odd there?
Yeah.
So we're getting that. We're getting the last game at Goodison Park against Southampton in May, and then in August. I think it's August. Yeah. First game at that place. First proper game, league game. Just win the both of them.
Yeah.
And keep on winning.
Yeah.
It's easy then.
It's terrific. He's a winner. Thank you so much, Peter Reid.
My pleasure. Thank you.